Hi everyone, it's Craig here again with the Velustra Research Alliance. Thanks for tuning in to another video on this Getting Started series with Velustra. In this episode, I wanted to dive into the Team Topology and Topology Insights tab of the VSRA project in Velustra and see what insights we can start to pull out of the values that we see that are created in the flows that we see when we look at the analysis produced by the VSRA functionality. So I'm going to go into one of the projects we've looked at before, the Baker's Unlimited project. This project is, as you remember, a fictitious organization selling baked goods along the east coast of America. And we've already entered into the organization data here. We've got the support network all set up for this organization. We've got various teams that are all involved in making baked goods happen. And so let's take a look at the team topology insights. When we click on the topology tab with this structure, this is the team topology diagram that we can see that shows up. So we can see that we've got various different team types in this organization. We've got a couple of enabling teams, a couple of platform teams. We've got these 4 complicated subsystem teams and just this one stream-aligned team in this organization. Now, when we're in this view, we can click on these boxes, these team topology boxes, to see the flow arrows that appear, showing us the direction of value flow within the teams that happen because of the dependencies or because of the structure that we've set up in that support network. And you see this is a little bit of a mess. So we can see that there's lots of arrows and lots of paths when I click on storefront development. By the way, if you want to reset the arrows and clear them out again, just click anywhere outside of the boxes and the arrows will disappear. You'll notice as well that down the bottom here, we have an area where it says no teams are selected. So this will light up with a bunch of information when we select a particular team. You can see that happening when I click on any one of the teams to see the different arrows that might be in play between the different teams and their connections. So I'm going to keep on looking at the storefront development team for now. I'm interested in understanding perhaps what's going to happen when the storefront development team has some need to make sure that what they're doing is secure, and particularly maybe securing the customer data that's in the database that they're using. So we have a database team, and we also have a cybersecurity team. We also have a quality assurance team. So perhaps we want to kind of find out some information about what would happen if we had these 4 different teams: the storefront team, the database team, the cybersecurity team, and the quality assurance team, all kind of working together. Well, we can do that in Velustra by simply clicking on the storefront development team as the main functional team that we care about, the main streamline team that we care about, and then we can see all of the different dependency chains that are available for that team. These chains, each one of these chains represents a path, a set of arrows that are moving through the different teams to get to storefront development. So it's the path of value flow that's happening to storefront development. And so, but we're really only interested in the paths that exist for the teams between storefront development, cybersecurity, quality assurance, and database, which are all kind of hidden beyond the arrows here now. But we have these filters here that we can select. So currently we're looking at storefront development, so that's already in the filter, but we're interested in looking for the cybersecurity team and the quality assurance team and also the database team. But this is interesting. The database team does not show up, you notice here. So there isn't a path currently that exists where cybersecurity, quality assurance, and storefront development are actually involved with the database team. So we need to go back to our organizational structure and kind of figure out why that is. Why is it that there is no path from quality assurance to database or quality assurance to some other path that helps us to get to through to the database? So let's take a look, first of all, go back to the organization. In particular, let's look at the quality assurance team and see what team it supports. And sure enough, we see that it supports the storefront development team and the finance support team and the product catalog dev team and the bakery development team, but it doesn't support the database team. Now, maybe the database team is doing their own QA. Perhaps they have people in that team that are doing the testing and creating test automation and validating what's in the database and doing all of that for themselves. Or perhaps we didn't kind of think about that during the organizational structure, and maybe it was a dependency or a support part of the network that we missed. So I'm going to actually select the database team in the organization here and add them now as a team that quality assurance actually does support. Let's assume we decided actually it was a support path that we should have had. We just missed it in our organizational structure. We need to understand what that has done to our team topology though. Has it changed our team topology at all? So let's take a look. Simply by clicking on the topology insights, we can see no, that's good. It actually keeps the topology the same. We haven't actually changed anything about how the team types are selected by that change. It could have done, it could have made a change, but in this case it didn't. The analysis just resulted in the same team topology that we had before, which is good. That means that we can now again click on storefront development and start to filter through just those 4 teams. So now I know to select the filter. I can choose the quality assurance team, and I can choose the cybersecurity team, and I can also choose the database team. And now what we see is we only have 4 different chains that are actually available paths that could be used to go through from cybersecurity to quality assurance to database all the way through to storefront development. Now, we're not interested in these 2 other teams, which are actually showing up also in these chains, the bakery dev team and the product catalog dev team. What we're really interested in is this chain here. So we've got the chain where we go from cybersecurity through to quality assurance, through to database, and through to storefront development. So if we click on this chain, simply click on the chain, then what we see is it opens up into a view that allows us to see the fine values for this chain. And remember, fine, F-I-N-E, stands for flow, impediments, needs, and effort. We also have a value of R for resilience, so we have the finer values. But let's take a look at these fine values and see if there's anything we can kind of reason about from these values. Let's start by taking a look at the flow value. We notice, interestingly, that the flow value increases as we step across these teams. So the storefront development team has the highest value of flow, but each team as we move through this chain is slightly lower as we move back towards cybersecurity having the lowest value of flow. What's also interesting is that the impediments value also changes. We see that it's the highest in cybersecurity and progressively decreases as we move through this chain. So that's interesting. What could that be telling us? Well, remember, these fine values are predictions. They're not taken from measurements that we're actually taking from the teams in real life. They're just predictions based upon the organizational structure that we have within this graph of the support network. So what this is really telling us is that based upon where these teams are positioned in the organization, the flow of work is likely to increase as we progress through work being done by the various teams. So if these arrows that pass value from one team to the next are actually handoffs, then we could expect that things will get sort of slow at the beginning, but will start to speed up as we get towards the end. And that's simply because remember the impediments value is kind of the value that tells us how important a team is in the entire network. So really it's kind of how much pressure are they likely to be under to get stuff done because they're supporting lots of other teams. And the cybersecurity team is the highest of those. So planning work for the cybersecurity team is probably going to be the hardest. That's the one we're going to struggle to find their time. And as we progress forward, we're going to find that these other teams are more autonomous and have more time available to them to actually get the work done. So we can kind of reason about that in our planning. We should think about that as we start to plan the work for the teams and set out our schedule for how this effort that we're going to have in terms of making sure that everything is secure from a storefront development point of view is actually worked out, so that we make sure that we're giving enough time for the teams to actually get that work done, and not assuming that they can just do it right from the get-go. So that's just a kind of little hint about how we can start to reason about some of these fine values and what they mean when we start to look at this team topology and how these connections are happening between the teams. In later videos, we'll use more of the AI to also help us to reason about these same concepts and see what it thinks it can tell us from, again, from the team organizational structure. We'll cover that in another video. So that's it for this video. Thanks again for tuning into this Getting Started series. Please keep watching the videos. Hope you're finding them useful, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.